nobody's on there yet besides me. Is the other one still going on?
I don't want you not so
Oh,
much.
John, can you hear me? I can't hear you now.
It's because I got to turn on my mic.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's Commissioner Fisher, Mr. Mankins, Mr. O'Neill.
Good evening.
Hello there. Michelle.
Hello, Jim.
Hey, Dave, is Commissioner Callahan in your office? You
He's
must-
out there, yeah.
Okay.
He's trying to get the link.
Oh, gotcha. Should I send John down there? Callahan? He's on his way.
Okay.
All right, everyone. I think we will bring the Butte-Silver Bow Council of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, November 10th to order. Can we please have a roll call? Looks like, what do we got? Oh, we'll have the check in right now. If everybody could please check in. Okay, can you close that? Looks like we have 8 present, 1 presiding, and 3 absent. Commissioner Sorich, Commissioner Anderson, and who else? I think that's all.
Dan Olson. Oh, there he is. Okay.
There's Dan. So we have 9 present, 1 presiding, and 2 absent. Let the record reflect Commissioner Sorich and Commissioner Anderson are excused. Commissioner McDonough, would you lead us in the prayer and the pledge?
Almighty God, we implore you, look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which shall greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver Bow. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen.
Thank you. Next item on tonight's agenda is any public comment on any items on the agenda. Call-ins are welcome at 497-5009. And then written comments, I do have a couple of them to receive or to read into the record. So we will open up the phone lines and see if anybody's there at this time. And right now there's nobody, so I'm going to read the comments that I've received in writing. First one is from Dr. Shauna Yates, CEO of Southwest Montana Community Health Center, and Dr. Serena Brewer, Medical Director, also at Southwest Montana Community Health. Dear Council, we are writing to you to express support for the Butte Board of Health and Health Officer Karen Sullivan in establishing stricter measures to limit the spread of COVID-19 in our community. As you are aware, our community is in the midst of a dangerous surge of the virus that threatens to overwhelm our ability to care for people and prevent deaths. As physicians and leadership at the Southwest Montana Community Health Center, which provides COVID testing and treatment to anyone who needs us, we are especially concerned about our elderly population and our neighbors with chronic health conditions that puts them at risk. However, we do have the ability to reverse this deadly trend by taking some common public health measures. Our clinic supports asking residents to voluntarily stay at home to stop the spread. We also believe that limiting businesses to 50% capacity and capping groups at a maximum of 25 are prudent steps, as well as ordering that all alcohol service cease at 10. If we are unable to curb the spread of this virus, and especially its impacts on hospitals, clinics, and limited staff caring for patients, stronger steps may need to be considered. The Southwest Montana Community Health Center realizes that these measures will impact everyone from families to businesses that are already struggling because of the pandemic. However, this pales in comparison to the illness and deaths that are occurring right now in Butte and surrounding communities. I would like to commend the county's Board of Health and Sullivan for their work and leadership during a difficult time. They have taken a courageous stance by making unpopular but life-saving decisions to keep our community as safe as possible. If you wish to discuss this matter further, we can be reached at the phone or email below. And again, that was from Dr. Shauna Yates and Dr. Serena Brewer, Medical Director at the Southwest Montana Community Health Center. The next one is from John Ray. It's too early for politicians to presume on our forgetting that the public good, the real welfare of the great people, the great body of the people is the supreme object to be pursued, and that no form of government whatsoever has any value than as it may be fitted for the attainment of this object. And that James Madison. I have just finished reading the new coronavirus standards announced to, and I vigorously applaud the Butte Health Department for acting swiftly to address the spiraling coronavirus cases in Butte. We should not wait because the coronavirus is currently out of control in Butte and could soon overwhelm our local health resources. It is good that the health department is acting before that happens. We are now seeing deaths in Butte, particularly among our most vulnerable populations, because it's nature of such a pandemic that it only takes a few, relatively speaking, to infect the many. It is obvious that tougher standards are needed to bring this under control. We have reached that point, and consequently, these more dramatic measures announced today by Karen Sullivan, head of the health department, are fully warranted. Although not easy, now is the time to act to control the surge in cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. To delay is indefensible. After all, the mission of the Butte-Silver Bow Health Department is to protect and improve the health of Butte-Silver Bow residents. Our vision is for Butte-Silver Bow to be Montana's healthiest county. The new requirements strike an appropriate balance between regulation and personal responsibility and personal freedom. Compared to seeing the pandemic create more illness and death in Butte, these new requirements are not overly onerous. If people display a genuine concern for others and for the public health, these new requirements will help control the surge. We need to recall the distinction between public and private facts. When an act only affects the individual should be free to pursue that activity. But when acts affect others, particularly harms others, the public through government has a right and duty to regulate that harmful activity. No freedom is absolute. My freedom ends at the other person's nose. Freedom can be curtailed when others are harmed, particularly when they do not choose to be harmed. Jefferson said that a wise government will restrain people from injuring one another. Some people act to harm others, and it must be restrained. People need to remember, number one, the economy will never come back until the pandemic is under control. While the news on the vaccine front is promising and welcomed, complete community immunity is way off. That, of course, assumes that the vaccines actually work with no major side effects to produce long-term immunity. But we can't want months for that, or we can't wait for that to happen. The crisis is here now. Bold action is warranted. Number two, this is not a personal freedom issue. Every freedom that we possess is limited by consideration of the effects of our actions on others. Private actions become public problems when they affect others. No freedom is absolute. Government constantly limits individual behavior in order to protect the public. Just look at criminal law. Look at the public health measures. Schools such as Montana Tech have numerous rules and regulations limiting behavior. There is no order or true freedom if everyone can do as they please. Number three, relying on personal responsibility does not work to protect the public. It only takes a relatively few bad actors, as I said. If one person can infect 100 innocent others, we have bad actors who need to be constrained. Consider mask wearing. One person not wearing a mask can infect, according to the CDC, 100 others. We cannot rely on what people ought to do to protect public health. Decisions must be based on what people actually do, and if it is voluntarily enough people to infect many others will not wear a mask. Incontrovertible scientific data indicates that wearing masks is effective. CDC argues that universal mask wearing could save 100,000 lives by year's end. We need to remember Cicero's dictate that the people's safety is the highest law. And that was from Dr. John W. Ray. The next one is from Beverly Hartline, PhD. Dear BSB Council Commissioners, I've been in communications with some Butte residents who, like us, are alarmed at local behaviors and convinced of the value of mask wearing indoors and out when around other people. Distancing and washing and sanitizing. Within the past few weeks, BSB has lost 10 people to the pandemic, people loved and loving, leaving holes in families and neighborhoods. If federal, state, and local governments won't issue mandates to slow the spread of the disease and buy more time to allow vaccines to be proven to be safe and effective and available in sufficient numbers, please ask yourselves, what can we, BSB, do locally? How do we encourage our neighbors to make responsible free choices for themselves, their children, and their parents, and their neighbors, all of us? How can BSB engage influential community members to encourage everyone here voluntarily to do what they should be doing without waiting for a government mandate? What are the best practices in the public health that have enabled some countries, states, and regions to do much better than average? Really, community health is a prerequisite for economic health and prosperity. Economic prosperity cannot bring back the victims of this pandemic, both the too many who have succumbed and many others who perhaps hidden medical complications. I hear of serious heart and kidney after effects as well as the respiratory issues will plague them for the rest of their likely shortened lives. Our local economy can thrive if we are healthy. It can thrive if people make, wear masks, wash and sanitize and distance. Our local community can't thrive if many are sick, dying, or dead. Public health must come first. From what I have read of the 1918-19 flu pandemic, those communities who curtailed the spread with more rigorous constraints recovered economically much faster and farther than those who took less action. Government can promulgate restrictions as well as all object, but we can choose freely our own behaviors to protect ourselves and others. On a population basis, Montana's daily new caseload would be equivalent to more than 40,000 in California, and the recent testing statewide has a positivity rates of above 30%, even as high as 60. This virus can't be seen, and it is well established here. BSB's 61 daily cases reported Sunday are equivalent to over 70,000 in California on a per capita basis. This cannot be acceptable. Who would be the most suitable members of the various health task force and other groups to provide advice and to spread the word? That's a question. What can the BSB Council do to make a difference? How can we help? Sincerely, Beverly Hartline, PhD. That concludes all the written comments that we have, and there's still nobody on the phone line. So I will move on to the report of the chair. The only thing that I have to report for the report today is thank you to all the commissioners that attended the looking over the election numbers at 4 o'clock at our special meeting. I was asked to remind every commissioner that Linda Sager Joyce will be sending you a PDF document via DocuSign, asking for your signature to apply to it, since we were here at the special meeting and it was approved. So please be on the lookout for that email and sign that at your earliest convenience. Along those lines, Barb will be also sending you another email regarding DocuSign to sign Commissioner Olson's letter that supports the health department that we also approved today at 4 o'clock. So please look forward to that email. Next item is section 1, which is bid openings, public hearings, and or presentations. We do have a bid opening, communication 2020-455. Mark Neary, Public Works Director, requesting Council of Commissioners approval to schedule an RFP 2020 for the fleet cards and management systems. The RFP is needed to replace the current fueling system for the station. Danette, I don't know, Eileen, do we need a proof of publication on an RFP?
Yeah,
County
Eileen should be on there.
Attorney Joyce, do we have proof of publication?
Mr. Chairman, there was proof of publication. It does appear to be in order.
Okay, you. Mr. Neary, do you want to do a staff report?
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. We reached out for a RFP, as you know, just what you stated, for the fleet cards, and we have 4.
Mhm.
We have 4 RFPs that were sent in. I'm going to open them.
Thank you.
I hope they all survive that.
Mr. Neary, you're back on mute.
Sorry, was it very loud again?
That's a very, very sensitive microphone.
Oh, well, I'm opening it with a chainsaw.
I thought a camera would be a little bit more precise.
So this first one is from WEX P66 Universal Fleet Card Program, and it's out of Yakima, Washington.
Was that
WEX, yeah, WEX P66. I think it was. Oh, brother. The sheet with the.
You're not gonna have to look at me. You're gonna have to point this.
So I wonder what I should be reading.
So Commissioner Morgan, council members, this is kind of a different type of a RFP. So there's not going to be a lot of data that we can share with you tonight, just because of the way that the RFP process and how it can be submitted to Butte-Silver. It would take us probably all night to read each one to you, so I'm not sure how you want us to proceed.
If the county attorney is okay with it, I would just ask that you open like you would, like Mr. Neary just did, state the name and address of the company of who you received it. Review it, see if there's anything as you first open it that appears to be noteworthy. And then if not, just move on to the next and put it into the record, and then we'll go that route if it's okay.
That works for me.
Chairman Morgan, just to clarify too, there was points that were included in the RFP in the packet. So the vendors that are participating in the process were clearly knew and were aware of how we were going to point system this. And then anything we point system will be public record too.
So there's a criteria that are going to be
Yes.
with your guys' committee and.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
So, Mr. Neary, you have the one from WEX. Do you want to continue on to the next one?
Yes, I'll mute the microphone. Chairman Morgan, the second one is from US Bank. Where's there?
This was out of Minneapolis.
Out of Minneapolis.
Thank you. Gas cards. Mr. Neary, are you just going to go to the third one?
Yes, Chairman Morgan, the third one is from City Service Valcom, and that's out of Kalispell.
Mr. Neary, on our bid sheet, we have that it's from Butte also. Is that incorrect?
They have Butte locations. The Kalispell is their headquarters.
Okay. Thanks.
Chairman Morgan, our fourth and final one is from Town Pump here in Butte.
Okay. Does that complete all the bid openings for the RFPs, Mr. Neary?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Just so the commission is aware, as Ms. Gleason stated, they will be taking these RFPs through a conditional point system, and then they will report back to this body as those RFPs were ranked. And so the council can make that decision at a later date as well. So Commissioner Shaw, would you just make a motion to refer this?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do see that it's coming up in the body of our communications. You want to wait till then, or does it matter? Probably doesn't matter. It's already in there to be.
We need to make it.
Yeah, okay. I would move to send these RFPs to the Public Works Department for the recommendation back to this body.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made, seconded.
Oh, and place it on file, excuse me.
Let's place it on file later.
Okay, all right.
This is just bid opening. So there's been a motion made and seconded to just refer the bids to the Public Works Department and await their recommendation. It's been seconded. Is there anything on the question? Would everyone please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Can we please see the votes? Looks like we have 10 yay and 0 nay, so motion passes. I'll move on to section 2, communications. Number 1, communication 2020-411. Brendan McDonough, Commissioner District 8, requesting Council of Commissioners consideration that Butte-Silver Boat take over the outside maintenance of the Community Ice Center located at Clark Park, the original operating agreement, and the Butte Amateur Hockey Association maintaining the grounds. However, I think the BSB should assume the maintenance. We'll continue to hold this in abeyance, waiting for the Parks and Rec committee to give us their recommendation. Anything to add on that, Commissioner McDonough?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We'll continue to hold that in abeyance. Number 2, communication 2020-427. Jim Ross, Little Basin Creek Volunteer Fire Company Chief requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence and authorization for the Chief Executive to sign a vehicle title of one of our old fire engines, which has Little Basin Creek Volunteer Fire Company and Butte-Silver government on the title so that we can sell this fire truck. As the commissioners will recall, we held this communication as the county attorney and Ms. Gleason had to look into a few things to make sure that we were disposing of this property correctly. Myself and Ms. Gleason did contact Mr. Ross this afternoon and had a very good conversation with him, and then followed up with the county attorney on what we discovered. So, Ms. Gleason, if I miss anything, please let me know. But in our phone call, this truck, just to give everybody a little history lesson, the truck in question is like a 1980 fire truck that they received in like the early 1990s. The fire company themselves, Little Basin Creek Volunteer Fire Company, purchased this truck for $5,000 and made $1,000 monthly payments to get it paid off. They used their own funds. It was not Butte-Silver funding that was used to purchase this vehicle. But when they purchased it, they wanted it to be covered under Butte-Silver insurance, maintenance, and fuel. So hence why Butte-Silver added it to their title. Where we're at today is the Little Basin Creek Volunteer Fire Company would like to sell this unit for $2,000. They would like to use those proceeds to purchase another DNRC truck, which is in the early 2000s. I think it was a 2001 that they want to purchase to replace this fire engine. And so that's kind of where we're at today. This truck wasn't a Butte-Silver owned property in theory. And so with that, we did talk to the county attorney and looked at a few things, and it was deemed appropriate being that they paid for it and such. So if the council would entertain it, I would ask for a motion to concur and place this communication on file and have the chief executive sign the title. But any questions on that?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to concur with 2020-427 and place this on file.
Second.
Okay, thank you. There's been a motion made and seconded to concur with communication 2020-427. Is there anything on the question? Okay, would everyone please vote? Okay, would anyone like to change their vote? Can we please see the vote? Looks like we have 10 yay and 0 nay, so motion passes. Next one is communication 2020-440. Angie Mulliken, Public Works Budget Analyst, requesting Council of Commissioners schedule a public hearing on November 4th, 2020 for the purpose of soliciting comments on the unanticipated revenue for a memorial bench to be placed in Clark's Park in the view of the Lady of the Rockies. The memorial bench is to have a plaque affixed to it with the inscription of, "In loving memory of John Swisher, storyteller, 1966 to 2020, forever in our hearts, the 12s." We'll continue to hold this in abeyance as this is also with the Parks and Rec Committee waiting for their suggestions. Number 4, communication 2020-450. Kristen Rosa, Tiffin Administrator, requesting Council of Commissioners schedule a public hearing for November 18th, 2020 regarding the addition of a grant from the Economic Development Administration in the amount of $2,974,333 to assist Butte-Silver and the Port of Montana for track construction at Montana Connections and the Port of Montana. We'll continue to hold that in abeyance pending that public hearing on the 18th. Both Karen and Kathy, if it was for $2,000, they would probably be mad at me. So We'll continue to hold that in abeyance. Communication number 2020-451. Tom Mize, 831 North Montana Street, Butte, Montana, requesting Council of Commissioners approval to purchase the city-county-owned vacant property located at 88 North Main Street. I own the residence adjoining this to the south, 831 North Montana Street, and would like to purchase this property in order to make improvements from my home. Keep in mind the caption as noted is exactly how they wrote it. So if you're thinking that there's some different addresses in there, that's where that came from. This is currently with land sales, so we'll continue to hold that in abeyance as well. Number 6, Communication 2020-455, Mark Neary, Public Works Director, requesting Council of Commissioners approval to schedule an RFP opening for November 10th, 2020 for the fuel fleet cards and management systems. This RFP is needed to replace the current fueling system for Butte-Silver Bow because of the shop relocation. As indicated, we did have this tonight, so Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I would move to place communication 2020-455 on file.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made and seconded. Is there anything on the question? Would everyone please vote? Okay, would anyone like to change their vote? Can we please see the vote? Looks like we have 10 yay and 0 nay, so motion passes. Number 7, Communication 2020-458, John Morgan, Council of Commissioners Chairman, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence in allowing the Chief Executive to create a committee that would be tasked with reviewing the local sign ordinance in its entirety. This is section 17.42 of the Butte-Silver Bow Municipal Code. We did concur with this communication at the last regular meeting, so thank you for agreeing to it. Mr. Chief Executive, I don't know if you have an update, if you were able to get the committee, but.
I'm working on the committee. I'll have a communication in for the next regular meeting appointing a committee.
Great, thank you very
Either
much.
hold this in abeyance or place it on file, either one.
I'll hold it in abeyance and then we'll just cross-reference
Okay.
with the next one. So we'll continue to hold this in abeyance. Number 8, Communication 2020-461. I guess before I move on to that one, I see Miss Casey is in this meeting. I don't know if she has anything to report on that or on my communication. Miss Casey,
Chairman Morgan, I don't have anything additional to report on it.
okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. So we'll continue to hold 2020-458 in abeyance. Number 8, Communication 2020-461, Dylan Pipinich, Assistant Planning Director, requesting Council of Commissioners approval, schedule a public hearing on November 18th, 2020 for the amended plat on Lot 1B of the Davis-Enruth Major Subdivision. We'll continue to hold this in abeyance until the 18th. Number 9, 2020-465, Karen Burns, Community Development Director, requesting Council of Commissioners approval to schedule a public hearing on November 18th, 2020 to amend the fiscal year 2021 budget related to an increase in authority in the parking garage budget for security upgrades. We'll continue to hold that in abeyance pending the November 18th date. Excuse me. Number 10, Communication 2020-467, Karen Burns, Community Development Director, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence and authorization for the Chief Executive to enter into a professional service agreement with DHM Design to complete a master plan for the Uptown Butte. Commissioner Fisher, I believe you segregated this last week, but I believe Ms. Burns is also on this meeting, so I will go to Commissioner Fisher for opening remarks.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. Segregated this last week because I wasn't sure when I read the scope of work, the $185,000 price tag at the bottom of everything that was going on, and where all the funds were coming from, and wanted to be kind of certain that certain things in there, as I mentioned last week, building inventories and planning things like that. I wanted to kind of find out a little more about it and see if some of the past studies that we've done, I remember years back, Travis Eccleston done a building inventory study and somebody else done a study. And I'm just wondering if these are going to be integrated into this or then we're just going to, be put aside because we've never acted on them as far as I know. So I just kind of wanted a little staff report in the view of transparency. So if Ms. Burns would let us know a little more, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Ms. Burns, can you comment on that?
Thank you, Commissioner Morgan, and Chairman Morgan and Commissioner Fisher and members of council. Yeah, I'd be happy to give you an update on this. So this planning process has been going on for quite some time. We started in April of 2018 when we had a community visioning meeting that was held at the Thornton Ballroom. And I'll be quick in this little history here, but in that visioning meeting, a master plan for Uptown Butte was one of the main objectives that was identified. A master plan was also identified as an objective in the urban renewal plan that was written in 2013 and adopted in 2014 to create the Uptown Urban Renewal District. So of that, an Uptown Citizens Committee was formed, and that committee was very active and met very often to develop a request for proposals to hire a consultant to complete a master plan for Uptown Butte. So given that the URA also had that as an objective, we combined forces to look at the best path forward to get a master plan done for the Uptown Butte area. And Butte-Silver Bow and the URA and both the Citizens Committee determined that the URA would be the best agency to lead the effort. And we also talked with some of our cities around us and who led their master planning efforts for their uptown districts, and found out that their URAs or their urban renewal districts were usually the lead and taking those on for their very first go around. So we did release an RFQ, request for qualifications, in August of 2019. We had 6 firms respond to that. We interviewed all 6. We jointly interviewed those with staff from BSB, the URA, and the Citizens Committee. We ranked those. We determined the top 3 from that. Those were DHM, Orion, and DKP in terms of the top 3 firms. We went ahead and asked them to submit a proposal in response to an RFP that was received in December of 2019. And we went through and scored those proposals, interviewed those top 3 firms, and selected DHM. That happened almost a year ago. And in that time frame, we then decided to pursue an EDA grant that came to our attention. We pursued that very hard, trying to come up with $100,000 in grant funds from the EDA. They encouraged us to apply, and we were unable to get the consultant under contract while applying for that because that's a condition of the EDA. We also applied for a Big Sky Trust Fund grant. And then, in March, a thing kind of happened called COVID, and it slowed everything down again. And we were able to solicit and get the Big Sky Trust Fund awarded to us. We have a grant for that. The EDA we applied for twice and were unsuccessful in receiving those funds. And we found out for sure that we were unsuccessful in September of 2020. So that's how long we've been delayed. So picking that back up, the URA has been talking about this plan at every one of our meetings since April of 2018. So it's been a long haul, and realizing that we should lead this charge as the URA. And so the scope of work that you had some questions about, I'm finally getting to that. I apologize for the long history, but that scope of work is all encompassing, and it will not be a double effort or a double dip in any way on the plans that have either been completed or have been partially done in the past. And so we will build upon the information that we do have, collaborate, collate that information, so that we're able to move forward with a really good master plan for Uptown Butte. And hopefully some great objectives and action items can come out of that. And so we're really excited to finally get this off the ground. We are pursuing a CDBG planning grant right now. And we are pursuing a Main Street grant as well. And so the URA board voted to approve this contract at our last meeting and move it forward, and are prepared to fund the plan's budget. But we are going to continue to apply for funds as we are aware of them and they become available. So a very long answer to your question, but I would like to say that we are very aware of existing plans that have been done or existing data that is available. And we are going to be using all of that. Of course, we're not going to set anything aside. We're going to use that, refresh those things that need to be done. We do not have a completed building inventory for Butte-Silver for this master planning effort. We have pieces and parts of different information that we need to get together. And so that's what that's referring to. I hope I answered your question, but I'm happy to answer any additional ones you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Burns, for that. Commissioner Fisher on the question.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. Thank you, Karen. I'm not opposed to this, but when I read through it, it's kind of dropped on a sudden. If you guys have been working on this for 2 years, since April of 18, this is the first I've ever seen of it. And when I read through it, and if the public was to read through it, and you just read, not understanding as I don't, in the section 1, tour existing and proposed sites, 1 day, $8,600. I mean, when you look at these without having any explanation, it seems to be a rather high. Recreation inventory and analysis, $4,380. I mean, when you go down through this building inventory, $5,595. I mean, these just seem to be extensive. And I'm just wondering why we as commissioners have never heard or seen nothing about any of this. And of the $185,000, how much of that is grant money and how much is coming from the URA?
Mr. Fisher, I believe, and Chairman Morgan, members of council, I believe the question is how much is coming from the URA? At this point, we're projecting about $100,000 will be funded through the URA. The rest will be funded with grant funds that we have either secured or in the process of securing. And I realize that these numbers look big to you. I can tell you that in reviewing the other proposals that we received back from our top 3 firms, this is the most affordable one. And I can also tell you that for towns of our size, a master planning effort that's this detailed and very useful. Missoula has spent, I know they're not our size, they're bigger than us, but their master planning effort was closer to $500,000 to $600,000 for their initial plan. And so I'm not saying that we need to spend that because I don't believe that. And I do believe that we will be getting all the bang for our buck. The URA, myself, will be managing this contract and understanding what we're paying for. It's not a blank check. We don't pay for services we don't receive. And will be a lot of back and forth with our consultants. And I think it's going to be a really great tool. The Citizens Committee that helped write this RFP and drafted this are extremely active. They have a lot of very active business people in our community involved in this, and they will continue to stay active in this process. The chief executive was a big part of kicking this process off, and I think we're all excited to get this going finally. And it's been an objective of the URA for a long time. So I apologize if it's new for a lot of you to see tonight or last week. The URA has been talking about it at our meetings, and it has been a part of our public meetings for like I said, for a couple of years.
Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. Thank you, Karen, once again. Could you just kind of give us a little input of where the URA funds come from, how they got up the bank account they got, like the $90,000 or $100,000 they'll be spending? Can you tell me where that money came from, not the grants that are being talked about, And another question as a follow-up would be, when this study's all done, what happens? I mean, what do we get done after this? Through the years, we've spent millions of dollars in Uptown Butte, and we got Northwest Energy Building, but we still have a lot of mom and pop stores up there, but aren't getting a lot done. So you just enlighten us a little bit on that. I'd be happy. Thank you.
Ms. Burns.
Chairman Morgan, Commissioner Fisher, members of council, I believe there was a couple of questions there, and please let me know if I missed something in my answer. So the URA is funded through tax increment financing. That's where all of our revenue comes from. And so this is why when we create a district and we implement tax increment financing, that's how we create our revenue, and that's how we create our funds that we grant out, we use for administration. That's how we pay our bond debt on the parking garage. And so that's where our funds come from. And so when we write our urban renewal plans, when we first create our districts, we try to designate what our top priorities would be and how we would spend our funds when they come in, and then they're administered by our board of directors. And so this urban renewal plan was called out, and part of our planning processes that were called out in our urban renewal plan. So that's how that is derived. So these are tax increment financing dollars to fund this. I think that was one of your questions. The other question is what are we going to see come out of this plan? Well, this plan will have a lot of deliverables that will be in the areas of both streetscapes, recommendations for a BID creation, a business improvement district. That's something that Butte does not have. It's something that is very active in a lot of other cities across our state that help provide support to local businesses. That could be a final result of this planning process. It will talk about beautification efforts. It will talk about other ways to drive revenue within your downtown districts. It's really an all-inclusive thing. Bozeman has very successfully used their initial plan. They've updated it every 5 years. One of their first things they did was create a BID, and that's not easy to do. Believe me, we've been working on it and working with our business owners for at least 10 years on that project. And it's very hard to get off the ground, but this could help work with that. There's a lot that will come out of this. And so I know I'm not being extremely specific, but it's believe me, it's a really good tool to have in your toolbox. And it really falls in and dovetails in with the comprehensive plan that was just completed for our community through our planning office and Lori Casey. Lori helped sit on this committee and helped us choose this consultant. And it's a good planning tool to have in your toolbox. And I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate the input.
Do any of the other commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Olson.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. Thank you, Karen. I have one question on the cost and budget sheet. DHM is the first column. I'm assuming that's the contractor. What are RPI and A&E?
So RPI is a subconsult. I'm sorry, I just started answering. I apologize.
You're fine.
Chairman Morgan, Commissioner Olson, and the rest of the council. DHM is our lead consultant on this. RPI is a subconsultant that specializes in market research and marketing efforts. And A&E is an architectural firm. And A&E has a very active historical architect, and he is part of this team. And we felt that was really important for our Uptown district in terms of how we deal with our historic resources and architecture in Uptown Butte.
Follow up, Commissioner Olson, or?
Oh, thank you. That straightens that out for me. Thank you, Ms. Burns.
Okay. Any other questions? Chief Executive Palmer.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. I just wanted to state that this committee that Karen was talking about was early 2018. And I had hired a consultant or a moderator to come out of Helena because there was a lot of different factions in the Uptown Business District. And they had always tried to get a business improvement district set up and it just wouldn't happen. So we wanted to have a constructive meeting with the moderator to get things moving. And I think there was a lot of successes that came out of that, but in order to, before they could do the business improvement district, they wanted to get the master plan put in place. But there was a lot of collaboration that went on through that whole group. And they have been extremely active in the one on the map. They broke into several different groups. One of them was they wanted to do the alley cleanup projects, and that's where the Lizzie Block Alley project came from. And one of the ideas was we've got to get the boards off of some of these windows in Uptown Butte. And as you can see, if you drive across Park Street now, we just finally got the plywood off of the Exerdance building as I think it was an outcome of that original meeting. And this master plan is going to go a long ways because now it lays the framework for getting the business improvement district done. A lot of the business owners wanted to know what they would get out of the business improvement district. And this is paid for strictly by the businesses themselves. They put into a fund and they dictate what projects come out of it. But by having a master plan in place, they can see where that's going to happen. And I think it's a giant step to getting that business improvement district in place to follow up with a lot of cleanup improvements in the uptown area. And it's not just restricted to the uptown area. You know, it can be used as a model throughout. I think it's a good plan, and I think it's a good thing to move forward with. It's I'm glad to see it's happening before I leave. Thank you.
Chief Executive, Commissioner O'Neill.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. And Karen, thanks for the kind of the information on that. I do struggle with 185 grand or whatever it is. It does seem like a big cost for. I mean, I hope I'm going to be positive on it. To hopefully it works out. Seems like that money could maybe go for some new boards to put over windows or something. So I don't know. I'm trying to be negative and positive at the same time, but I don't know. It just seems like a lot of money, but if that's what it costs to go, I don't know. I'm struggling with it big time, but I guess I'm in favor of it too, as I talk out of both sides of my mouth. But it just does seem like a lot of money compared to the one that we just had done, the comprehensive plan. I believe that was around a $40,000 price tag. Maybe I have that wrong. If Lori can correct me, but I guess you get what you pay for. So I just really hope and pray that it's worth the dough. Thank you.
Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that this is an awesome thing. Anytime you can get a framework like this started, it helps with everything, especially when you're looking at new elected officials coming in to already have some framework built and ready, and something that the community development department has worked so hard on for 2 years. The money's already in their budget. I think it's really important that we keep the community moving forward. So with that, I will make a motion to concur with communication 2020-467 and place it on file.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to concur with communication 2020-467 and place it on file. Is there anything else on the question? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. Thank you, fellow commissioners. Thank you, Karen, Chief Executive Palmer. I just not speaking for myself, but speaking for the community as a whole and studies and the way the public feels about things. And one of the things that bothers me is the contractor, the subcontractor, none of them people that Commissioner Olson referred to are from Butte. All this money's going out of town. There's none of this money staying in Butte. One company's from somewhere, another one's from Missoula, and some from Helena. You'd think we'd have an architect around here that could help with this a little bit. So, I mean, mine will be more of a symbolic vote, but I don't think I can support this at this time because of the way it was presented without having further review by the voting people that voted us in office. So I hope the best for everyone, but I don't think I can support this because it was not really as transparent as I like to see government run. Thank you.
Okay, there anything else on the question? Commissioner O'Neill.
Thanks, Chairman Morgan. I'm going to try to end mine with a positive note on there because I am all for Butte. The better of Butte, Montana for sure is why I'm definitely here and definitely going to support it. But I just hope it gets followed up on and hopefully it, like I say, it is. I understand there's been a lot of work to it too, but it's something that, if somebody talks about it through us, we don't even know about it. That's what's kind of embarrassing on one side. But on the other fact that all the stuff that you guys have brought forward is done really well. So I have high hopes and please come back in a year and some. And I guess that Butte, Montana is like rolling uptown and everything's looking beautiful. So I guess carry on.
Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. This was well advertised. It was advertised in the paper. Chief Executive made a big deal saying this gentleman was coming to town. He invited everybody to the Thornton building. They had a very great turnout, and they broke up into committees, and each committee worked on different parts of this project. And they put a ton of work into this in the last 2 years. If you didn't show up to the meeting, it was advertised, it was announced at the council meeting. Unfortunately, you missed out. But these people have put countless hours to get to where they are today, and they've worked real hard at it. So if we don't know about it, I think that's on us. Like I said, it was even advertised in the paper for the meeting. I think it was on the MTM News as well. So to sit there and say we don't know about it, I think that's our own fault. That's it for me.
Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say that I remember very well on April 18, David just started as our new chief, and I was very much involved in this from the start because mostly it was in my district. For the first year, I sat with a lot of business owners, people that own the Finland. I mean, just some really young, active, energetic people, business people that want to do good for Butte. And I sort of fell off of the original group because it was being handled so well between Karen and the other folks that were spearheading the Uptown Master Plan. I agree that you got to throw good money at something that you want to get something good out of. I mean, you get what you pay for. But I just want to say that I totally support this. I know Karen is a watchdog on her money at the URA. It is tax increment financing, and that helps everybody that's putting into that tax increment that is in the Uptown area. So it sort of, helps to feed for itself. And we just need to be careful that we're not just throwing a study on something. I think this is a means to an end. I think a BID, a business improvement district, would be awesome in Uptown Butte, but it is not an easy task. And this is like, once we have this kind of a hinge pin for getting that done. And I think that this is a great opportunity to do that. So thanks.
Okay, is there any other questions on the motion? All right, seeing none, would everyone please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Can we please see the vote? Looks like we have 9 yay, 1 nay, motion passes. Next item on tonight's agenda is any public comment on any public matter not on the agenda. Call-ins are welcome at 497-5009. Phone lines are open. Is there any? Right now, there's nobody on the phone line, so we'll give it a minute. I do want to apologize. I just realized that I read a couple letters tonight's agenda that should have been in this section of the agenda. So please give me a pass on that. But at this time, if you want to call in, it's 497-5009. Still currently nobody on the phone line.
Commissioner Morgan,
Ms. Mason,
if you don't mind, can we clarify something on the bid openings that were held earlier tonight for the fleet cards?
you bet.
We just wanted to make sure that you were aware that the one town pump bid was in a combination with Wex card system. And then the other bid that we had notified you that was Wex card was also with Sudi Oil.
Sudi Oil, were they one of the?
No, they were with Wex card.
Oh,
So we have two combination bids with Wex card. So it's Wex card with town pump and then Wex card with Sudi Oil.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Okay, is there anything else? I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, I'll adjourn the meeting.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank
See
you.
next